guys, welcome to my channel. This is the 18th video tutorial in the Python series, and in this video I'll be explaining you about classes and objects. We all know that Python is an object-oriented language. So object-oriented language is mainly based on classes and object. So let us understand that what are classes. It is a user-defined data type which has its own data members and member function. Data member refers to the variables or instance variables of the class, and member functions simply refer to the functions or methods in a class. These methods and data members can be accessed and used by creating an instance of that class called as objects. Class acts like a blueprint for objects. For example, now think that you have a class called as car. So we can define a car based on its model and then year of manufacture or mileage or anything like that. So these are the few parameters which I'll take here. And what does the car do? The car has to move from one place to other place. So this car class, in this car class we have defined these things, where model, year and mileage will be the data members or variables of that class, and move is the member function or method of this class. Now consider that you want to access these things or these parameters. For that, what you'll do is you'll write different models or cars, whatever. So for example, here I'm using Ford, then BMW. I don't know literally much about cars. So these are the models which I'm taking here. So what happens is each of the model, okay, you can define a particular thing or car, whatever you want. We have, for each model we are defining year, then mileage, and the move function, and similarly for each car we are defining all these things. So you see that for each car these things will be different, but you'll know that all these things will be there. So this is what it means that class acts like a blueprint for objects, where these are the objects of that car class. So this might have by explaining this, I guess that you might have understood a bit about classes and objects. Now let us see that how we can create a class. For creating a class, let me save this. For creating a class, you need to write class as the keyword and then the name of the class. Here I'm using home and then colon. Now here I'm initializing my value of x equal to 5. So this is the basic class which I have created right now. Now what I'll do is I want to create an object here. So I will write p1, which is the object here, is equal to home. So this is the way in which we create objects. And now suppose we want to access our x variable here. We'll write print p1.x. So whenever we want to access anything in a class, we use the dot operator. So here we have written print p1.x, which returns the value of x here. So let us check that. Class.py. So here we have seen that our output is 5. So let me explain you this once again, that to create a class, use the keyword class and then write the name of the class, and then you define the things like define data members and then methods of this class. And after that, in order to create an object, you write the name of the object and then you assign it with the name of the class, which creates an object here. And suppose that you want to access the data variables or data members here, you just write the name of the class dot that particular variable. So this is the way in which you create objects. I'll tell about initializing function. All classes have a function called as init, or you can see this what it looks like, which is executed the moment when the objects of that classes are created. So whenever you create whenever you create a class, it has a function called as init, uh, which will be executed whenever object is created. For example, if I had created any function here, or no, I'll explain that later. So init function is usually used to initialize the data members or do some other operations necessary. Whenever an object calls its method or function, the object itself is passed as the first argument. So this we are talking about object. So what happens is that whenever we call any function of that class by using the object itself is passed as the first argument. So whenever calling a function with n arguments is equal to calling the corresponding function with an argument list that is created by inserting methods object before the first argument. What it means that if you have a function in a class, then instead of passing just the arguments which are required for the function, what you do is you call that corresponding function with the argument list, where the argument list contains the methods object before other parameters. For these reasons, the first argument of the function in a class must be object itself, and this is conventionally called as self. So you can change this self to any other variable also, but usually we call it as self, and it is used to access the variables that belong to that class. So now let me explain all this now. Here I'll define a class called as human, and here I'll define this init function. Okay. Okay. And in this init function, I'll pass self and then parameters like name and age. Okay. So this is the way in which I'll define my init function. That first, and you should take care that the first parameter which is passed is always self. Okay. And now we know that every class has some data members and some member functions. So in order to access the data members, what we'll do is we'll write self dot name equal to name, and then I'll write self dot age equal to age. So here I'm accessing my name and age, and I'm initializing them with the value of this name and this age. So this is the way in which we define the init function, and as I told that these functions are usually used to initialize the data members. So here we are initializing the data members of this class using init function. Now I'll create an object p1. Okay, p1 equal to human and here I will supply some parameters like Joey, and then for age I'll pass 23. Okay, now suppose that you want to know that what are the data members and how they are initialized. We can simply print it out. For printing, as I told, the object name dot the variable, here it is name, and similarly here I'll print p1 dot age. So when I do this, I'll find that this will print Joey because the first parameter after self is name, and it is initialized to the name of name data member of human. So this is the way in which it works, that it will print Joey at first, and then p1 dot age will access the age data member of human, and then it will print 23 here. So let us check this. So we see here that it has accessed the name and age data member in the class human. So this is the way in which we define our init function and we use it. Now suppose that here we have seen that how to create a basic class, and here we have seen how we can define our init function. Now for example that you want to define some other methods for your class human. For example, here I'm writing define function, a normal function here, which, and you should remember that every function of the class will take a parameter which is self, and that is true always. So if you think that that function, if it was a normal function instead of a class function, it wouldn't have taken any parameters. Then when it is a function of the class, it will take a parameter at least, that is self. So now let us do this and see. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll simply print here, print hi, my name is, and then plus self dot name. Okay, so here I had told that it is used to access the variables that belong to this class. So in order to access the name or the data member of this class, I'm writing hi, my name is self.name. So it self.name will return the value of name, or here we have initialized Joey, so it will return that. And now I'll print hi, my age is, okay, this, since I'm teaching you the basics, let us have only one print statement here. So now we need to call this function so that in order to see this print statement. So I'll write p1 dot function, and I won't supply any parameters here. So now let us compute it, see that. So what we see here is our function recognizes the argument, it accesses the data member's name, and then it prints that hi, my name is self.name, and here self.name is Joey, so it has printed Joey. So this is the way in which we create classes, initialize the objects, or create objects, and here we are initializing the data members of the class, and here we are defining functions. So this is the basic representation of class and objects. So that's it for this tutorial. Hope to see you in the next videos. Thank you.